Okay, hi everyone, welcome back. And in this update, we are going to check out ONDO's price chart and see what is happening in the short term. And a spoiler alert, I think we are at kind of an important moment. But before we get into all that, we are at first going to talk about this very important tweet. And in case you're not really active on Twitter, you should know that recently ONDO's account actually posted a clip of Larry Fink, which, in case you don't know who he is the CEO of BlackRock, and what he was saying was honestly, in my view, one of the most important statements that we have ever heard about crypto in general. And he basically said that the opportunity for tokenization is probably the most important component of how we are going to see the evolution of the financial plumbing of the world. And that, my friends, is the world's biggest asset manager literally saying, look, the future of finance runs on blockchain, and it is, in my view, a very important statement. And he didn't actually keep it vague. No, he actually gave an example and he said, imagine tokenizing all 5.3 trillion of BlackRock's ETFs and putting them in digital wallets. And that means in the future, you could move from potentially maybe a stable coin straight into tokenized bonds or maybe a stock instantly without fees and also without banks in the middle. And what he is describing, in my view, is a complete rebuild of how global finance works. And the most powerful man in the TradFi is literally screaming, look, this is going to be the next phase for the future. So be prepared for it. And that, in my view, changes everything, because this is slowly but surely starting to shift the crypto's narrative from maybe a speculation to right now seems like that utility is the big talk of the day. And thank God that it's no longer going to be about trading tokens or maybe holding Bitcoin. No, it's also going to be, I would say actually for that matter, maybe even mainly about bringing real assets like bonds, stocks and ETFs and so on and so forth fully on chain. And here is the crazy part. You see, if just one and only one company, let's say BlackRock itself, moves 5 trillion worth of assets on chain, that is, you're not going to believe it, literally more than the value of the entire crypto market itself. And again, pay attention, that is like one single company. So I cannot stress enough just how big RWA narrative is going to get in the future. So I think you should definitely have your eyes on that. And here is why, in my view at least, this important clip is a massive deal for ONDO. You see, for those of you who are very much familiar with ONDO, I think we can all agree that this very important message from Larry Fink is describing what ONDO is actually doing at the moment, and their flagship product, which, in case you are a new viewer, is called OUSG, is actually a tokenized version of a BlackRock US Treasury ETF. So while others are at the moment still talking about tokenization, maybe or maybe not is going to work, ONDO has already built it and it is fully functional. Right now, it is fully on chain and you can actually use it. And that means when this speech starts pushing every single major financial institution to go tokenized, well, okay, the first question I think is probably going to be, well, who can help us do this safely? And also, this is the key part, very much compliantly. And in my view, the answer in a lot of those cases, I'm not going to be stupid and talk about ONDO basically attracting all the adoption. No, but in a lot of cases, I think the answer to that question is most likely going to be ONDO. And well, in my opinion, this actually puts ONDO in perfect alignment with BlackRock's own tokenized fund, because the ecosystem that Larry Fink in this clip is describing, meaning tokenized assets, instant settlement, stablecoin payments, this ecosystem already has a major on-ramp, and ONDO is one of the key builders behind that infrastructure. Now, let's talk about what could be, again, there is no certainty in any market. We are only talking about the probabilities, and we are right now going to a little bit speculate. So let's talk about what this could potentially mean for the long term in ONDO. You see, in my view, we will likely see massive inflows into ONDO's products, and corporate treasuries and institutional investors who have been for so long very much cautious, all of a sudden they have validation from the top, and they will look at tokenized treasuries like OUSG as a secure, yield-bearing, and fully compliant alternative. And at the same time, this will, in my view, also most likely trigger what is called a flight to quality. You see, there will probably be a ton of new tokenization projects popping up here and there. Trust me on that. I think this is going to play out, but serious money will, in my view, likely flow towards the ones with real compliance, real products, and real institutional backing. And well, this is, I think, literally the definition of ONDO. And with that momentum, ONDO can actually move faster. Maybe they are going to expand beyond treasuries into other assets. I don't know. Let's say maybe corporate bonds, money market funds, and even equities. And that basically is building the digital wallet of assets that Larry Fink in this clip described. But they are going to do it faster, and they are going to do it very much right. So in short, when literally the biggest asset manager in the history is telling you, look, this is actually the future, I think you should definitely bet on the fact that early builders of that future, and in this case, you know it, we are talking about ONDO, they are going to explode big time. And that's actually one very important reason for why am I so bullish in ONDO for the mid to long term. Okay, I fully get it. The price in the short term doesn't necessarily reflect the fundamentals, but I'll be honest, I just see any kind of move down in short term as a decent buy the dip opportunity, in hope that in the mid to long term we get beautiful price appreciation, because I do think honestly by the end of this cycle we are going to get into an altcoin season situation. But having said that, I don't really think that all coins are going to go up. No, in my view, the ones with great fundamentals and great communities are probably going to be experiencing some big moves, and that is why ONDO is actually on my list. So in terms of fundamentals, definitely positive news about ONDO here and there. Now, let's go on the live chart and see what is going on in like very short. Okay, here we are. And if you remember the last time that we talked about ONDO, we were actually right around here. Maybe it's best to go on some lower time frames so we can see the candles a bit better. Okay, we were right around this area, and the idea was that there's like a very high chance this move on the upside in ONDO is going to be actually a correction structure and not an impulse. Meaning what? Yep, odds are this is going to be into a wave 4, and followed by that we said expect another move down into wave 5. But we said, look, what you do not want to see is actually this move on the downside, the coming move getting quite extended. And what you want to see is after having another small move down, maybe a good bounce in order to take this specific high right in here about 78 cents area, because that is going to suggest that on some higher degrees we are having maybe, excuse me, let's just take this one, 5 up into 1 followed by a correction for wave 2, and what's next? Hopefully a rather great bounce into wave 3, 4, 5. And we said we can easily in ONDO get a good move up in order to get back above this important point, which is the beginning of the crashing hour in a lot of altcoins. And in ONDO's case, it's somewhere around the 90 cents area. So what happened? As you can see, we did get a move on the downside, but I'm going to be the first one to admit this. I actually did not expect this move to get this much extended in ONDO. And the problem with this phase down, this specific one, is that in Coinbase's chart at least, we took this important slow down here about 58 cents. Now, why do we care about this so much? Because you see, let's go around here. If you want to argue that we are going to have our final low around here, maybe this is like a very important support, then okay, you have to be able to find off of the lowest low in this region a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave up, and this is actually going to be a rather strong move on the upside, but it's not really necessarily going to be like a massive extended move. No, followed by this 5 wave up, you're actually going to see a consolidation pattern according to the bullish case, and then you can see that extension structure happening, meaning a massive move on the upside. Why? Because in terms of Elliott's waves, the idea is that this is 1, this is 2, and the next phase up is going to be into wave 3, 4, 5. And we do say that in terms of Elliott's waves, wave 3 is known to be quite a good, strong move on the upside. But before we get this wave 3, we're just going to spend some time building this bullish setup, meaning this 1-2 scenario. Now, let's go on the live chart. Okay, you see, if you want to go according to this chart from Coinbase, well, okay, unfortunately, since in this phase down we took this low, you really cannot say that we are having a 1-2 setup. And at best, pay attention, at best, this means, well, okay, if you want to say even from the current point in ONDO, we are going to start building a bullish setup, okay, you just have to expect it to take some time. Maybe we are going to get like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but then expect a couple of days of consolidation, and this process might actually end up being a little bit annoying. But you know, the chart doesn't really care about you, I, or for that matter anybody's feelings. We just have to suck it up and analyze the chart and take everything step by step and see what might be next. Now, if you're not a fan of this specific chart from Coinbase, well, okay, you can actually go on, for instance, TradingView's chart, basically literally any other chart from any other exchange, because in those charts, the lows are actually somewhere around here, which at the same time is a very, very important, I think it was weekly and daily time frame support area between 41.5 to about 47.5 cents. And the difference between this and Coinbase's chart now is that, well, okay, according to these charts, you are still allowed to very much argue this is 1, this is 2, this is wave 3, 4, 5. So what should we do? Which scenario should be our primary case? May I suggest right now, don't really pay attention to this 1, 2, or maybe the previous scenario that we talked about on Coinbase's chart. Just focus on like the short-term price action and take every single thing step by step. And the first step for ONDO, if we want to really be bullish and call for some extremely strong move on the upside, is going to be, I think you know it, reclaiming this very important level. Basically, let's not say reclaiming, let's say getting back above it, which the higher band of it is somewhere around 72 cents region. Question: are we going to get back above it and start our move up from the current point? Well, let's go on some lower time frames and see what is happening. Okay, so here's the deal. In my view, you can say that we are having in here 5 wave on the upside, and yes, in this phase we actually did take this important high, and this can also be another 5 wave up. So if you want to go with a bullish scenario, I guess your best shot is going to be having a series of 1-2s, meaning this can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into a larger degree wave 3 correction for another move up into wave 5. And pay attention to what I'm about to tell you. This is actually very, very important. You see, if you want to be optimistic and you want to call this point your final low in ONDO, which happened a couple of days ago, well, okay, under any kind of circumstances, I'm warning you right now, under any kind of circumstances, you do not want to see ONDO getting a move down in order to take this important low down here about 57.2 cents. Why do we care about this? Because if we go down and take the lows, at that point, let me just put it this way, this bullish count at least, or any kind of bullish scenarios, shouldn't really be our primary scenario. Our primary scenario at that point suggests that we're just having the subwaves for, you know what, excuse me, an A, B, C zigzag, meaning what? Yes, our move down, unfortunately, in ONDO is going to continue a little bit. So in a very short term, all eyes on this important low, and let's hope that we're not going to take it. And in the mid to long term, honestly, generally, I actually view any kind of solid move on the downside in ONDO as a decent buying opportunity because the fundamentals are so great. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in ONDO. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time with your family and loved ones. Goodbye.